Okay, today we're going to talk about how we can interactively read by using 3 different methods. The 3 methods are going to be called chunking, which means breaking up your article into smaller pieces. So you're going to break it up into small groups of paragraphs. Annotation, which means you're going to highlight, underline the words you don't understand, summarize things, make key or identify key facts, kind of like we've been doing when we read stories. And also summary, you're going to summarize the chunk pieces that you've created. Okay, so let's go through. You're going to fill in your notes that you've been given as we go through this PowerPoint. If it moves too fast, just ask the substitute to hit pause, or I'm going to post this on my website. You can go back and look at it. But you're going to use these notes throughout the research project, so make sure that you're filling in the blanks, okay? So what we're going to talk about are our reading strategies, which will be chunking, and like I said, that's breaking up the text into smaller pieces, summarization, and annotation, okay? And they're going to all work together to help us comprehend our article so that then we can figure out what point of view we want to take and what we can, what argument we're going to write about in our research paper. Okay, so chunking. This is chunk. In case you haven't seen the Goonies, you need to. That's chunk. Okay, chunking is the process of breaking the text up in smaller or more manageable pieces. So we're going to divide our text into 5 chunks. You're going to count up your paragraphs, and you're going to split up the paper based on how many paragraphs you have. Okay, this allows for a greater summarization. It allows you to kind of break up what the author's trying to say. It allows for logical recall points, so it helps you to identify where certain points are made in the article so that you can easily go back and steal quotes for your paper. And it also allows us to understand smaller portions of text at one time. Okay, so we're going to practice this, and I have an example coming up. But first, the steps for chunking are: you're going to read the selection first, knowing that you'll be reading it a second or third time. So you're going to go ahead and number your paragraphs. That's always your first step, no matter what we're doing. Then you're going to break your paragraphs into 5 separate pieces by drawing lines after each chunk. So say you had 20 paragraphs, then you divide by 5, you would have 4 chunks, okay? If you don't have like an even number, you can kind of guesstimate, but you basically don't want to have more than 5 chunks. You want to have no less than 3 chunks, depending on the length of your article. All of the articles you'll be given on Thursday for your research paper will easily be able to be divided into 5 chunks. Okay, and then you want to number your chunks in the margin. So you're going to have your paragraph numbers beside each paragraph, and then you're going to have your chunk numbers outside those numbers, your paragraph numbers, and it's going to be 1 through 5. Okay, so here's a small example, and I tried to do my best to get it on the screen so that made sense. This is just an article I had on my computer. So what this is up here, this is my first paragraph, and then I have 2 more paragraphs. So what I did was I counted this as 1, 2 paragraphs. I divided it. That would be my first chunk. So going forward, when I talk about chunk 1, it basically means section 1. I'm going to summarize just what's above the line. Okay, then when I move to chunk number 2 or section 2, I would read the next 2 paragraphs, and I would only be talking about those. So it kind of gives you help to identify places in your article to get information quickly, because you're going to have a lot of articles to read for this research paper, and you don't want to have to spend tons of time digging to find what you thought you saw at one point. This helps to be able to find it quickly. Okay, so this would be kind of what it looks like. It's the best I could do on a computer. Okay, so after you've chunked your article, then you're going to annotate it, and then you're going to summarize your chunks. So annotation is exactly what we've been doing in class when we read articles. Okay, you're going to circle and highlight words you don't know, then define the word above it. So I've been giving you 1-word definitions for these articles. If there's words you don't know, you need to look up the definition in the dictionary and then either summarize the definition or write it out in full, whichever you prefer. Okay, you need to underline, circle, highlight keywords and phrases. So things you think might help you write your paper going forward, you want to mark or highlight so that you can find them again. You can also use brackets to highlight sections you think are important in case you don't want to highlight all over your paper. If you think that gets a little messy, you can just use brackets. And then by the end, your article should be covered in color, notes, and thoughts you've had while reading. So you also should be writing down as you read what you think the author's trying to say. Because in order to write a research paper, you have to take what an expert has said on the topic and use their argument or their words to help support your argument. So you want to make sure that you're understanding what the author is trying to say so that then you can use that in your paper. Okay, so after you've annotated an article, your paper should look something like this. All right, so this paper looks kind of messy because they've got notes in the margins, they've got their paragraphs numbered, they've got things highlighted within, but this is a good annotated paper because you can tell that they can easily find, oh, I'm looking for this part of my article, so it must be in this paragraph. Okay, chunking will also help you to go, all right, the first chunk of my paper is about this. I know I don't need any of that information, so I'm going to go down to the second chunk. Okay, so after you've read your first article that you found on the computers in the library, this is what it should look like, and this will be for a grade, so make sure that you're actually doing it and you're not just highlighting random things. Highlighting random things is just going to make your life difficult. Okay? So, once you've annotated, I want you to think about summarization. So, what you're going to do is you're going to summarize little part or each chunk of your story or your article. Okay, so summary is taking a broad view of a topic and putting it into your own words. So you're going to answer the questions who, what, when, where, and why. It should be shorter in length than the original. So if your chunk only contained 2 paragraphs that were kind of small, your summary should probably be a sentence. But if your chunk contained 3 larger paragraphs, then your summary should probably be at least 3 sentences. Okay, write a short summary in the margin of your chunk. Now we're going to do this. I'm going to give you a sheet of paper to do this on. It should be on the back of your notes. I've given you a table so that you don't have to write it because I know some of your articles might not leave enough room to write a summary. So on the back, if you flip your notes over, there's a table where it says to define the unknown words you don't know and also to summarize your chunk. Okay, and this should be in your own words. So you're not stealing quotes for your summary. It's what you think the author has said in that chunk. I don't want to see quotes because that will come later. Okay, so this is your opinion, what was said, translating what's being said into your own words. Okay, and this should be the overall point being made within the chunk, not the whole article. So if the first 2 paragraphs of your story are about a story the author is telling to set up whatever his opinion is going to be, then your summarization would just be about what he's talking about. You don't want to jump ahead to what he says later in the article. Okay, so after you've taken these notes, and if you need to go back, you can replay this video. I want you to go through and chunk, annotate, and summarize your first article that you found in the library on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, this is due by Friday for your first article, and you'll be doing this with all of your articles that I will give you on Thursday. So if you're a little confused, write down questions you might have. If anything, by the time I get back on Thursday, you need to have all the unknown words you don't know defined, and you need to have your article broken up into chunks, and you need to be working towards summarizing your chunks. If you're a little lost on that, we'll talk about it on Thursday. Okay, but everyone should be working on reading, understanding, and analyzing their very first article for whatever your topic is. Okay, I will post this video on my website in case you need to review it, but otherwise you may get to work on annotating and chunking your article.